Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 307 for August 1st, 2023. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, LA Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert gets paid, Colts running back Jonathan Taylor has requested a trade, and Adam and I will be talking about our weekend trip to the Pro Football Researchers Association convention in Pittsburgh. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my aforementioned son, Adam.
Wow, aforementioned. I never thought I'd get
well,
the
I
day.
already mentioned you once. But...
Hear the day where I'd be aforementioned. But yes, what a great weekend of football nerdiness. This was probably only the second nerdiest convention on the face of the earth behind Comic-Con. So,
yeah, this is Comic-Con for football fans, football geeks, and man, I'm still on a football high from this past weekend. Yeah, it was so much fun. So many fun things that we saw and experienced. We'll talk about some of that towards the end of the show.
But, the last part of the show is going to be totally dedicated to that. So if you're here to listen to that, we do have timestamps now, so you can jump around whatever sections you feel like talking or listening to. So
timestamps. What the heck's a timestamp?
Yeah, you were supposed to add that to something in your script, but I don't know if that's happened yet. You know,
I have not.
It's like snail mail. It's going to take a while to get to Randy's desk, apparently. So, yep, I'm ready to go when you are.
All right. We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, which I guess is going away as of August 29th, TuneIn, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, as well as Amazon Music, so you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@theworldoffootball, as well as other selected videos, like last week's history lesson about the Grand Rapids Rampage and their relationship with a roll of toilet paper.
Ah, yes, I remember this very well.
All right, so let's begin today's program with Adam and the World of Football scoreboard.
That's right. We're going to kick things off up in Canada. It was week 8 in the CFL, and Friday night saw the Hamilton Tiger Cats defeat the Ottawa Red Blacks 16-12. Ottawa wore their throwback uniforms for this game in honor of the Ottawa Rough Riders from yesteryear. I didn't get a chance to see the highlights from this game, but you said...
I didn't even realize it at first that they were different uniforms, because it was still a black helmet, still a red and black uniform, but the letter R on the helmet had no circular saw blade around it. And so that's when I realized. I mean, I didn't hear anybody on the highlights say that they were wearing throwback uniforms, but they definitely were, because they're not the ones that they've been wearing for the last few years.
Sure, they just weren't alternate. I'm going to quickly look up the Ottawa Instagram page.
I'm going to say they were throwback uniforms.
Okay, I mean, they could have been, but well, they might have. I mean, like
that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
I've seen. Well, it looks like they honored some Rough Riders guys at. Okay, so it says here on their Instagram page, because there's several great pictures of the 1973 Grey Cup team. So they were honoring the 1973 Grey Cup winning Ottawa Rough Riders.
Okay.
During the game, so some cool footage of them. I would assume at halftime or before the game.
That was still a good look.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I was watching the highlights, and I really didn't even put two and two together until about halfway through. I said, "There's something different about that helmet," and that's when I realized, oh yeah, that's their old style.
Because I'm like looking at it does look like just a more blown up version of the R. I thought it was just that without. They've done that before,
right?
So okay, now I see what you're talking about. But yeah,
well, thank you.
Yeah, now a little more
for admitting that I was right.
A little research had been done that could have been found out sooner instead of live on air. Okay, and we're going to continue here. Hamilton quarterback Bo Levi Mitchell threw for 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions in the loss. Wow.
You're just going to gloss over
the win.
that.
Sorry.
Five interceptions? You're just going to gloss over that?
You didn't let me finish. It's 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Man, is this conference really just shaking our repartee. Like you're just jumping
I
all
don't
over me
know.
like that already.
I just thought it was astonishing. He'd throw 5 interceptions
Yeah,
and
bully
still win the
whack.
game.
Yeah, and still win the game. That's right. Yeah, Hamilton did win. My bad.
Yeah.
Then Ottawa quarterback Dustin Crum, who's been, kind of the hot name over
Playing
there
really
in
well
Ottawa.
lately.
He threw 158 yards, no touchdowns. No miracle win this week for
No,
Ottawa.
no, afraid not.
All right, then Saturday saw the defending Grey Cup champions, Toronto Argonauts, defeat the Saskatchewan Roughriders 31-13 in the touchdown Atlantic game in Halifax, Nova Scotia. This was also the 100th regular season meeting for the Roughriders and the Argonauts, so that's a pretty cool milestone there.
Yep.
Toronto was actually up 21-0 at halftime.
Yeah, it was it was all Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto quarterback Chad Kelly threw for 122 yards and a touchdown. That's it.
Yep.
While Saskatchewan quarterback Mason Fine threw for 302 yards but no touchdowns. So, I mean, I saw some highlights from this game. There's a great replay I saw of some players celebrating on a little like tugboat kind of thing they had set up on the side of the field.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned to you that I'd love to go to a touchdown Atlantic game one of these years, and you said, why? It'd be packed. It'd be in a tiny stadium. What would the point be?
Yeah, I don't know what the attendance was, but this was played at St. Mary's University in Halifax. So it's a college stadium, much smaller than a United States college stadium. But it looked like they were having a great time. And the fact that Chad Kelly, the winning quarterback, threw for 122 yards. The losing quarterback, Mason Fine, throws for 302 yards. And that's just what we've been saying all along, is that the person with the best stats is not always on the winning team. And that's been so true this season in the CFL. And it was true in this game again.
Yep. All right, then Saturday saw the British Columbia Lions shut out the Edmonton Elks 27-0. This is the second shutout of the season for Edmonton. Both of those happened against the Lions.
Yeah.
British Columbia quarterback Dane Evans threw for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Edmonton quarterback Taylor Cornelius threw 187 yards and 2 interceptions. Edmonton now owns the worst home losing streak in North American major pro sports history with 21 straight defeats. The previous record was held by Major League Baseball's St. Louis Browns with 20 straight losses. With these 2 shutouts this season, Edmonton has become the first team to be blanked twice in a season in the Canadian Football League since 1967.
And who were the teams that got shut out twice in 1967?
That would be the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Edmonton Eskimos.
Ah.
Both of those teams shut out twice that year.
So now Edmonton has done this twice.
Yeah.
67 and this year. Wow.
Unbelievable.
I meant to do a little research and I forgot. I wanted to know
all your research was happening over the weekend.
Oh yeah, it was so hard to put this whole thing together in like a day and a half. But yeah, I didn't know what year the St. Louis Browns baseball team lost 20 straight.
It's a good thing we're a football podcast, not a baseball podcast. Yeah. All right, we're gonna move on from that. Sunday saw the Montreal Alouettes defeat the Calgary Stampeders 25-18. Montreal running back William Stanback had 86 yards rushing, and Calgary wide receiver Reggie Begelton had 102 yards receiving. One thing of note I do want to mention, seeing the running back stat there, Toronto Argonauts running back, whose name is escaping me at the top of my head because we don't have it written down, became like the 5th all-time leading rusher in CFL history.
Is that the guy I was trying to talk to you about the other day? The guy with the blonde hair?
No, I believe
out the back
it
of his
is
helmet?
somebody different. Okay. I have no idea who you're talking about.
Okay. Well, the stats are a little bit different this week because when I went to the CFL website, when I clicked on the player stats for each of these games, nothing came up. So all I could do was take what I found at the end of the video where they would flash a few stats under the final score. And so that's all I really had this week. Normally I do a different, more thorough job of bringing up the stats and all that. But
yeah, you're talking about AJ Olette?
Yeah, Olette. AJ Olette. Yeah, that's the guy I'm talking about.
Is that the same running back?
Yep.
Okay, I'm like looking for this because I remember seeing it over the weekend, and now I can't find these top 5 rushers in CFL history.
He's been bowling people over this year, and he kind of came out of nowhere. I can't say as I've heard his name too much in years past, but he is really in the forefront of the stats this year when it comes to running stats.
Yep, I can't find it right here. I wish you were better prepared in the day and a half you had to put this script together.
Thank you, yeah.
Man, what did you do? Take a long weekend or something? On by this week, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Yeah,
I did all the driving.
Yeah, all the driving. I tried between naps to ask you if you wanted me to take
you'd wake up and go, you need a break. I'd say no, and you go back to sleep.
Yep, pretty much. All right, and then real quick, we're going to talk about CFL standings. In the East, it's the Toronto Argonauts with a 6-0 record. Unbelievable for the defending champs.
Yeah.
Montreal at 3-3. The Hamilton Tiger Cats at 3-4, and the Ottawa Red Blacks at 3-4. In the West, the British Columbia Lions lead the way with a 6-1 record, followed by the 5-2 Winnipeg Blue Bombers, 3-4 Saskatchewan Rough Riders, 2-5 Calgary Stampeders, and the 0-8 Edmonton Elks.
I feel for you, Edmonton fans. Really do. It's tough to root for a team that is not just doesn't have a win, but doesn't have a win at home in a couple of seasons. So that's tough. Let's hope they can break that this weekend.
Yep, very, very rough. But now we are going to move on to the Indoor Football League. It was their conference championship weekend. We had 2 great games slated here on Saturday night. The number 2 seeded Sioux Falls Storm in the East defeated the number 1 seeded Frisco Fighters to win the Eastern Conference Championship 45-44. It's a great game here. Sioux Falls, because we tried to catch a little bit of this in the hotel room, because Sioux Falls trailed 27-10 going into halftime. That's kind of when we were clocking that. We were jumping around between a few different games.
Right.
So they were up 27-10 at halftime and shut out Frisco in the third quarter to close the margin to 27-23. There were 5 lead changes in the fourth quarter as Sioux Falls took the lead for the last time with 30 seconds remaining in the game and hung on for the win. What an upset. Sioux Falls going back to the IFL championship game.
Yeah, we watched part of this game at our hotel in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, like I said, it was right before halftime, too. So we were like, oh, Frisco's up big. Let's jump and see what the other games
And then we went to the Montreal-Calgary game, and we watched the end of that, I think.
No, we didn't.
Was it that game?
We missed the CFL action because CFL Plus wouldn't work
in
the hotel room, apparently.
I saw some of this somewhere.
You probably watched some highlights.
Maybe I was just dreaming about it.
Or the Sports Center stuff you heard people talking
Could
about.
be.
Then in the West, it was the number 2 seed Bay Area Panthers defeating the defending IFL champions. Also, they were the number 4 seed team in the West, the Northern Arizona Wranglers, by a final score of 68-46. The Bay Area Panthers were the real deal. I remember a few months back when we were talking about them, I was skeptical about them.
Yeah.
And I don't know who the commenter was on the YouTube channel, but he made sure, or she made sure, to say, hey, this isn't going to be your same old Bay Area Panthers. They got former Arena Football League coach. They got some new players. They're going to really turn this thing around. And by gosh golly gosh gee, I don't even know where I was going with that one. They're in the championship game after that big win. So your championship matchup in the Indoor Football League will now be the Bay Area Panthers taking on
the Sioux Falls
Storm.
I wrote that down.
Yeah, you wrote that wrong.
Yep.
In Las Vegas, kickoff at 3:00 Central Time on CBS Sports on Saturday, August 5th. This upcoming Saturday. So be sure to check that out.
Yeah. So both number 2 seeds in the East and the West will be playing for the championship game.
Very excited. I mean, who are you pulling for in this game?
I'm going to give it to Bay Area.
Really?
I think they're gonna come win.
I'd like to see them take it. I mean, Sioux Falls Storm, they've had a history of just
they've been around a long time,
but they've also won a bunch of championships.
Yeah.
Let's just see the Bay Area Panthers come in there and steal one.
Yeah, it should be a good game. But if I were a betting man, which I'm not, I'd say go with Bay Area on this one.
I think I would too right now. But don't count out the Storm.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on to the National Arena League. We actually watched a little bit of a National Arena League game this weekend.
That was the other one
which was AKA, and I put in quotes, underline, parentheses, kind of keep it in the back with italics, the first arena football game for the new Arena Football League. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, because both of these teams,
as the West Texas Warbirds defeated the Orlando Predators 43-37 in overtime. We watched this game on the YouTube channel as it was all going down. What a comeback for West Texas, and to hold on in overtime. Both teams, like we mentioned, are going to be in the Arena Football League next year, but the season is over for the Warbirds. The Orlando Predators will move on to the playoffs regardless, so they got a little bit more to do. And then also Saturday, the Carolina Cobras defeated the Jacksonville Sharks 50-37. And then on bye, the San Antonio Gunslingers. And your playoff standings and matchups are as follows. The number 1 seeded team will be the Jacksonville Sharks at 10-3. Your number 2 seed will be the Carolina Cobras at 10-4. Your number 3 seed, the San Antonio Gunslingers, at 8-4. And the Orlando Predators squeaking into the playoffs with a 4-8 record to round out the 4th and final seed. So it'll be number 4 Orlando traveling to Jacksonville to play the Sharks, and then the San Antonio Gunslingers traveling to Carolina to play the Cobras.
Yeah, when I looked up yesterday morning or afternoon when I was putting this together, they hadn't posted the NAL playoff matchups, times and on all that. So I'm just
I saw that
assuming.
today, I think.
Yes, I did see it later today, and I meant to go back and do that, and of course I didn't. But I'm just assuming that the number 4 is going to play at number 1, number 3 is going to play at number 2. So,
Yep.
um,
All right, yeah. So as
There you
these indoor leagues, championships coming faster and faster, that just means NFL football right around the corner.
oh yeah,
And with that, we're going to throw it over to Randy as we have finished off the scoreboard, and he's going to tackle some NFL news.
yeah. Los Angeles Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert is now the highest paid player in NFL history. He signed a 5-year, $262.5 million contract extension, which averages out to $52.5 million per year.
How many times have we said that on this podcast? We've led with
Right.
the next highest paid
Yep.
player.
A few years ago, it was Matthew Stafford at $40 million, and now look where we're at.
Yeah, and I think even Patrick Mahomes right now, if you were to rank he'd probably be the 7th highest paid quarterback now after his $500 million contract. What was it, 2 years ago or so?
Well, it seems like they're always giving the highest, the highest paid player. They're giving him that big contract, and they've never won anything.
Other than Patrick Mahomes,
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Yeah, you're devoting all this money to one person. Don't get me wrong, Herbert's talented. I like Herbert. I think he's got a bright future. I think we're actually got an embarrassment of riches at quarterback now. I can't remember, maybe not since about 5 or 6 years ago with like the height of the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, some of those guys. That now we're getting all these young guys in their prime, and I think it's special. And then we all know Joe Burrow's next. So it's only a matter of time that Joe Burrow's going to get his big fat contract and be the highest paid player.
That'll probably be our lead story next week.
We could be. I thought for sure it would have happened already. I thought it would have dwarfed the Herbert story by the time we got to this podcast.
Yeah.
But something that's not on the rundown, but Burrow got hurt this week at training camp. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how that's going to impact his contract. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, continuing on with this Justin Herbert news, over $193 million of his contract is guaranteed. He is now under contract to the team through the year 2029. His contract surpasses Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson's recent contract by $500,000.
Oh yeah, all these guys are like, I just want $500,000 more than the last guys.
Yep.
So it's going to keep baby stepping up.
Yep.
Good Lord.
Yep. And you had to correct me because twice on this rundown I wrote San Diego Chargers, and you had to say it's LA Chargers.
Old habits die hard for you old fogies.
I know. All right, let's see. Running back Jonathan Taylor. You brought this one to my attention. I didn't have this on the rundown initially. Running back Jonathan Taylor has requested a trade from Indianapolis, and I know there's a lot to this story.
It started off with a simple, like, how many times have we heard a player wanting a trade from their team? And with the running back drama, which we haven't really talked about on this show, about the running backs kind of all
undervalued, underpaid.
A lot of them, banding together to see what could they do to, try to get a more fair contract the way the CBAs, negotiate. It's tough for these guys, so Jonathan Taylor, I feel for him because he was the best running back in the league in 2021. Got banged up last year. Definitely wasn't the same player, but I could see where he would want a contract extension. So I'm of two minds of this before we get to the Jim Irsay of it all. But, these guys who are on their rookie deals still, I get it. You want that security and you want to move on and, have that security because a lot of these guys don't. Like, look, Ezekiel Elliott just thrown to the curb. Dalvin Cook, thrown to the curb from Minnesota. Running backs are, frankly, very disrespected in this league. Yeah. They're looked at like, we're going to get 3 or 4 years of good production out of you anyway, and then we'll just cast you aside because you're no good to us anymore. It is a bit of a disappointment to see that the evolution or de-evolution of the running back position.
Well, it's still an important position.
It is.
You still need a running game, especially at the end of the game when you're trying to run out the clock or keep the ball away.
True.
You need a running game to keep the clock running and to
you do. And these teams would rather pay some rookie or unrestricted free agent, the bare minimum, that could do the same thing or get close to the same sort of production. Yeah. A lot of these running backs, like look at like the Lions. I won't say they cast out the running back we had last year.
Oh yeah,
Why are we blinking?
he's gone and his name is escaping me already.
Oh my God, why am I blinking? We love talking about him. First swag Kaskage, leader of the hidden village of the Den.
Oh yes,
He was also on the top 100.
Williams.
Yeah, not Jamal Williams. Oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? We've got such bad memory right now, and you're not helping me out at all.
I'm
of his
sorry.
name.
I can see his face. I can't think of his name. Was it Jamal Williams?
It wasn't Jamal Williams, was it? Jamal Williams. It was Jamal Williams.
Okay.
Wow. Jeez.
We're better than we thought.
Man, we suck. This is the worst episode I think we've ever recorded. No, so Jamal Williams with Detroit, breaking Barry's touchdown record.
Right.
Had a pretty decent season, over 1,000 yards rushing. And what did Detroit do? They signed somebody else and they let him walk.
Well, they were going to sign him.
They were trying to, but I won't say
they
they're
couldn't come to
him.
Let's just say they couldn't come to an agreement.
They couldn't come to an agreement. But it's just,
so they let him walk.
But then they'll turn around and pay a different running back who's got maybe just as many.
Paid him more than Jamal Williams was making.
So I don't know what the deal is with the position, what these teams are doing, and what their strategy is. Because you look at just from afar, there is something going on with the running back position that they don't want to pay a lot of these guys. Because once they have great production one year, they're like, oh, you can't duplicate that, so we're gonna just let you go. But then, like Jim Irsay, knowing how valuable Jonathan Taylor is, how talented Jonathan Taylor is, the owner of the Colts, saying there's no way they're going to trade him. And, I mean, I get it when you're the owner. You don't want to get rid of your good players. And you don't want to just let them walk. You hope that you can resolve something. But then the story comes out that made it a little more muddy. Because I guess when Taylor reported to training camp, he talked about having some sort of back pain or back spasms or something. I don't know at the top of my head. But reported something like that, and now supposedly the rumor is the team was looking into putting him on the non-injury list or reserve or whatever, which would, I won't say he wouldn't get paid this year, but essentially it would put a freeze on his contract, and it wouldn't,
it wouldn't cost him anything.
This year, but it'll pick right back up next year,
and he wouldn't be able to sign with anybody else.
Yeah, so. That's how they could kind of screw him over. But, I mean, I was just watching the thing where maybe some other teams could throw some offers at the Colts that would pique their interest to actually make them pull the trigger on a deal. But hard to say. It's really messy. And you hate to see a young, talented player like this who's only been in the league a few years. I mean, he was great at the University of Wisconsin. I kind of wanted Detroit to draft him. But, he had an outstanding season with the Colts. Again, banged up last year. But maybe... What is the answer for these running backs? Because he's clearly not happy. They clearly don't have the security. After going from a rookie contract, the next contract's not a guarantee unless you're like a Derrick Henry and you've been just consistently 1,000-yard rusher, consistently healthy, consistently productive. Is the answer? And I was thinking about this today. Is the answer that maybe these rookie running backs, like Jahmyr Gibbs, did his contract with Detroit? His rookie contract and got that taken care of. Thank goodness. But when you're a rookie running back coming into the NFL, do you need to maybe get more stuff up front then? Is that what it's going to take for now for these guys to, feel that security?
Get the financial security.
Yeah, get that guaranteed money up front. Because if the team's going to cast you aside and you're not going to see that second contract, I don't know. I really don't know the answer to this.
Well, on our website, theworldoffootball.com, I have a page where I list all the 2,000-yard rushers from the NFL. And if you look at all those players, they all attain 2,000 yards within the first 4 years of their careers, except for Barry Sanders.
I was going to say,
who did it in year 9 of his career. That was the exception. Everybody else, within 4, maybe 5 years or whatever, that's when they'd hit 2,000 and they never touched it again, of course. But like I said, Barry Sanders did it in the 9th year of his 10-year career.
With a 16-game schedule.
Yeah.
Now they got a 17th game, and we had a running back who could barely get to 1,000 doing that. So, yeah, I don't know. I would like to see these guys get paid, but I get it from a team perspective, though, as well. I don't think the running backs are replaceable, but, there's just so many running backs that are talented that why pay top dollar and your money could go elsewhere on your roster. It's a messy situation, and we clearly don't have the football degree to solve this problem right now.
No,
but
we don't.
I just wanted to throw it out there because it's been a big issue the last few weeks, and it's probably something we're going to keep seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about Saquon's deal last week, but I feel like we barely touched on the value of the running back across the league.
Right,
And
yeah,
I thought that after this happened, and this is something I'm going to watch closely, is this Jonathan Taylor situation. Like that made me really go, yeah, this is a problem when your star running backs are doing this.
Hmm.
You know, like I would hope that he would stay in Indianapolis for years and have a great career, but he wants out.
That's not the way anymore. You know, the years of people spending their entire career with one team, whether you're a quarterback, a wide receiver, or whatever,
It's happening less and less.
yeah, are few and far between anymore. Okay, the Pro Bowl. Weren't we just talking about the Pro Bowl last year? We said we hadn't heard
Last week, yeah, we had a nice long weird discussion that came out of nowhere about it.
that we hadn't heard anything about the Pro Bowl. We didn't know if they were going to have the Pro Bowl or anything about it. You know, and we really could care less about it if it's going to be the same crap they put on the field last year. But as soon as we were done podcasting, like the next day, the NFL came out and said that the Pro Bowl is going to be played in Orlando this year at Camping World Stadium, and it's going to be on February 4th. The game was previously played there from 2017 to 2020. But as far as I could tell, they did not say what the format was going to be. I'm assuming it's going to be the same crap they put out last year. They're not going to have an actual game anymore.
NFL Olympics, just do it.
Yeah.
Man, I'd rather see that.
Well, I don't know. To me, they shouldn't call it the Pro Bowl. You know, what did they call it last year? The Pro Bowl Games?
Pro Bowl games.
And I think they should just do away with that name.
You can still call it the Pro Bowl games, but I'm telling you, lean into the Olympic-style nature of the thing. I won't rehash what I said last week, but essentially, give me the 100-meter dash with all those fast wide receivers.
Yeah.
Let me see Tyreek Hill racing against some of these young guys like a Devontae Adams or a Jameson Williams. Let's see that. How much fun would that be just to see some dudes just like it's essentially a grown-up combine. Let's see the underwear Olympics, but it's T-shirts and shorts, and it's current NFL stars where hopefully nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no physical. Like, I want to see an offensive lineman carrying a big rock like the strongman competition. Let me see some guys. I mean, they showed them pulling those weird metal beams for the offensive.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a dude or two dragging a semi truck. Entertain me. That's what. If you're not going to give me a Pro Bowl game like back when Barry Sanders played, which was awesome, and I miss, entertain me with ridiculousness. Have a fake wrestling match. I don't care. Put the Kelsey brothers out there against Dwayne The Rock Johnson and John Cena, and you will get all the ratings. Let's do this, NFL. Fix this Pro Bowl crap.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. I barely watched it.
A boy can dream.
I barely watched it last year, and I'll probably barely watch it again this year. The NFL will have its first ever Super Bowl alternate telecast this season, as Nickelodeon will simulcast the game with a production tailored towards kids. You know, they've done this a couple.
It feels like they've been working their way towards this.
And don't they have a show called
it's like a weekly NFL kids show.
NFL Slime Time.
Okay.
With Nate Burleson.
Where
they'll do like highlights of the games, and they'll throw all the slime stuff and all these animated graphics and stuff on Nickelodeon. But this is all according to Sports Business Journal. CBS Sports will produce the main coverage of Super Bowl 58 for CBS and Paramount Plus on February 11th. The Nickelodeon telecast will look a lot like previous NFL games on the channel, with on-field graphics, guest reporters, and virtual filters. CBS also plans to distribute the game to the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, where it will air on a delayed basis.
Yeah, I know we've tried to watch the Slime Time games. It's not for us.
It's good for about 5 minutes, and then, okay, I've seen enough.
Yeah, all the best stuff you'll see the highlights of on social media anyway. Right. But look, for kids, probably
trying to get more fans in. Yeah.
But we figured they're building to this. They've been doing the wild card games, the last couple of years, and I think CBS was just biding their time till it was their turn to do a Super Bowl, and here we go. Will this add to the ratings? Will this just make the ratings even more insane?
If it doesn't, then it's been a big failure, because more ratings means more money to the NFL. Yeah. And my God, they could use some more money, because, the billions they're making just ain't enough.
Yeah. Hey, good for the kids. I mean, I won't say let's indoctrinate them while they're young. That just sounds bad. But, give kids a good way to kind of get introduced to football. Why not on the biggest game of the year? And SpongeBob and Patrick, all the Nickelodeon stars on display, it could be fun for them.
But as a parent,
Uh-oh.
let's say you're a parent
I'm not.
and you're ready for the big game and it's your team and the kid wants to watch it on Nickelodeon with all this crap on there. What are you going to do as a parent? Are you going to watch the greatest game of your life with a bunch of SpongeBob characters and whatnot running around? No, you want to watch the game. You're serious about this game.
All right.
Your kid may not be, but you're serious unless you're going to set the kid down in a separate room and say, you watch it on this channel. I'm going to be out here with my beer and my chips enjoying my team.
Listen here, you old fogey. This is what you do. You give the kid an iPad. You give him some headphones, or her some headphones. You sit him on the couch. You say, you can hang out with us and watch the game. But you're watching the Slime Time game on that with your headphones on. We're going to watch the big game on the big screen like adults.
Dad, look at this. Dad, did you see this? Quiet, kid. I'm trying to watch the game.
And you, I mean, how many times have you slapped a Game Boy out of our hands as children? I mean, I'm sure nobody would have a problem. I mean, it'd probably be easier to
Pay attention to the game.
Slap an iPad
I
out of a
didn't buy
kid's
this
hand.
85-inch TV so that you could watch SpongeBob score a touchdown on your iPad.
Darn right. You buy that 85-inch TV to watch The Dark Knight on there in high definition. Speaking of, yeah, will you help me go pick up that 85-inch TV I've been eyeballing?
You don't need an 85-inch TV.
Yes, I do.
If I don't have one, you can't have one.
Oh, my money, my problems.
All right, a little bit of news from Champions Indoor Football. The Omaha Beef, the Sioux City Bandits, and the Topeka Tropics all announced that they are leaving the CIF now that their season is over with. I don't know the reason why, and there's no word on what league they might all join, whether they're all going to go to the same league or if they've got different leagues in mind. You know, they might all three go someplace. Who knows? None of that was announced right now, but I'm sure they'll have an announcement pretty soon saying what league they're headed to and
I hope it's
all
not
the details.
That league that the Columbus Lions just got done with. Oof,
No.
boy, what a mess that thing was.
Yeah.
My guess, maybe the National Arena League. They're losing 2 teams to the Arena
be.
League.
I think a lot of it would depend on what teams are around them that would make
Maybe.
a good, they could jump on a bus and within a few hours they're there ready for a game.
Maybe, or maybe they go to the Indoor Football League. Who knows?
I don't know.
But, as everyone should, you should wait for the official announcements and not speculate.
Yes.
As people in the arena football community have learned this week. I know you don't have this on the rundown, but
Yeah.
I did want to quickly mention.
Sure.
So I don't know if you you saw the developments, but yesterday 3 supposed team leaks happened. Like with 2 of them were like fake Twitter accounts, and one was an Instagram page. And as far as I could tell, the Instagram page might be legit. The Minnesota Myth, maybe. Like I said, take this with a grain of salt, everyone. We're not making anything official. We're very skeptical of all these still.
Right.
But the only thing that made me give that one credit was the Arena Football League does follow the page, as does the commissioner. So that made me go, the Minnesota Myth might be a thing. The other 2, and I wanted this for historical purposes. One was the California Grizzlies. The other was the St. Louis Rampage. Twitter accounts popped up. And some other sites kind of shared it and retweeted that, oh, it's official, new Arena League teams. And don't get me wrong, those pages looked awfully convincing. But, boy, could I smell some doo-doo a mile away with that Rampage logo, because it was a horse.
Yeah.
Which, hey, is fine. They were the Stampede at one point, the St.
Right.
Louis team, so that made sense, Randy. Well, you know what didn't make sense? As Detective Adam Snow got on the case and looked at that logo for a couple of hours before I decided that it was a bunch of dookie. They had a C. Where in St. Louis and Rampage was there a C? I get it, it's a horseshoe, but it was a C. That should have been an indicator right there for people out there sharing that page that was probably not legit. And then later it did appear, because I saw one of the sites that shared it said, oh yeah, it looks like we were wrong. That Twitter page is being pretty malicious. And it was like some fake, and the person came out and was like, ha, I got you, stupid Arena League, making announcements of cities and teams before you're ready to announce the logo. It was just, it was a bunch of BS. And I just rolled my eyes. I was like, I'm glad that all got sorted out before we did this podcast.
Yeah. So in about 2 weeks, all the indoor league and the National Arena League, they'll be done with their season. Then I think you're going to hear some
Probably some more
official AFL news from the commissioner. And then until that time, we're not going to speculate.
Right.
We want the official. We're looking forward to it, but we want it to be official, and we want it to be.
And if we bring it up like I just did, we will say, hey, take this with a big old grain of salt.
Yeah, that's what's going on, but it's not.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing that from right now doesn't smell like a whole lot of dookie is the Minnesota Myth Instagram page.
At least the name, anyway. Whether
At least the
whether
name.
that logo.
That logo, I don't know if
Yeah.
the logo might be a placeholder. Who knows? But I mean, it had the commissioner following it, and it had the official arena Instagram following it. So
I still want the Fighting Pike, man.
I
I
know,
want
me
it to be the
too.
Minnesota Fighting
I
Pike.
do too. But I'm not gonna lie. If this is true, I actually think the Minnesota Myth is kind of a cool name. If you get a crappy logo, I'll think differently. But the Minnesota Myth, it's got a nice ring to it.
Wouldn't that be better for a women's football team?
Whoa, Randy.
The Myth?
It does sound like a WNBA team. I'm not gonna lie, but hey, I still think it's a cool name. Give me some cool colors. Let me see a concept. That might be my team next year. I'm still waiting to see because I'm not gonna lie. When I saw St. Louis Rampage on that fake Twitter account, I did get a little mad. I was like,
Yeah.
you're gonna let them be called the Rampage,
And you're not going to use the logo
Well, hold on.
from Grand Rapids?
I would have been even more mad if they would have used the Grand Rapids Rampage logo. I would have been even more mad. I'm not gonna lie. I would have hated that team with every fiber of my being. So if that does happen, I'm gonna stand by.
All right, here's a little piece of news that came out today. The United States Women's Football League Championship game for 2024, next year, is going to be played right here in our backyard at Waldo Stadium on the campus of Western Michigan University, right here in Kalamazoo.
All right, I want to throw out real quick for those of you who are loyal followers. We appreciate you guys out there. But the USWFL is a different league than the league we were talking about last week, which was the Women's Football Association, right? WFA.
Yes.
So I just want listeners out there who just hear Women's Football League. It is a different women's league.
Right, this is very different.
Okay, from the league we were talking about last
Yes.
week. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes,
Continue.
I don't know exactly how many teams are in the WFA, but it's a bunch of them. It's got to be like 30, 40 teams. Yeah, I don't know, more than that, but they're all over the country. This league here, the USWFL, only has 8 teams right now, and 2 of them haven't even been announced. It's been around for a while. I've heard of the league, but right now they have 8 teams: the Detroit Prowl, the Tennessee Thunder, the one that was just announced today, the Dayton Diamonds, which I think is a
Ooh.
cool name. Love the alliteration. There's the Cincinnati Sizzle, the New Orleans Hippies, the Florida Legacy, and then 2 teams that they haven't announced yet, but one's going to be in Beaumont, Texas, and the other one is going to be located in Houston.
Oh,
So
interesting.
they'll have at least 8 teams. Those are the placeholders they have on their website right now for the teams for next year. And yeah, I just think that's so cool that they're coming here for their national championship game to Kalamazoo.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to. Hopefully, the league, doesn't suffer any financial setbacks. But hey, I'll be right there in the.
Yeah.
If it works out, I will go to that championship game.
I'll go to it. My gosh! In fact, I'm going to get tickets to a Western Michigan game maybe this week.
Do it.
Their first game is it's the 31st of this month, I believe.
Go Broncos.
And yeah, then they're playing a team I've never seen before. So yeah, I'm going to swing by the stadium and get
Hey,
some
hurry up
tickets.
and get us our tickets.
Okay. Let's see. Today's birthdays and anniversaries for August 1st. Today is the birthday of running back Edgerrin James. He turns 45 today.
Wow.
Played his college football at Miami of Florida. He was the 4th overall pick in the 1999 NFL draft by the Indianapolis Colts. He played 11 NFL seasons. He was with the Colts from 99 to 2005, the Arizona Cardinals from 2006 through 2008, and the Seattle Seahawks in 2009. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2020. And we do have an anniversary today. On this date, August 1st, in 1987, Arena Bowl 1 was played. The Denver Dynamite defeated the Pittsburgh Gladiators 45-16. So we got a little arena football news thrown in there today. We also have 3 obituaries today. This is where we take a moment and honor those who've made the world of football a better place. Our first obituary is that of Johnny Lujack, a Heisman Trophy winner who played quarterback in the NFL for 4 seasons, has passed away at the age of 98. Lujack played college football at Notre Dame and won the 1947 Heisman Trophy. His college career was interrupted for 2 years while he served in the Navy during World War II. He then came back and played for Notre Dame, led the team to 3 national championships in 1943 before he went in the Navy, and then again in 46 and 47. He was the 4th overall pick in the 1946 NFL draft by the Chicago Bears and played for the team for 4 seasons from 1948 to 1951. He was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1960, and he was the oldest living member of the Hall of Fame at the time of his death.
All right, and our next obituary is that of Daryl
Ashbacher.
Ashbacher. See, we didn't.
I know
the name beforehand.
Yeah.
Daryl Ashbacher,
Mhm.
who played guard in the NFL and in the Canadian Football League, has passed away at the age of 89. Ashbacher played college football at Boise State and at Oregon. He signed as a free agent with the Philadelphia Eagles in 1959 and played one season with the team. His roommate while he was with the Eagles was none other than John Madden. He then signed with the CFL Saskatchewan Roughriders in 1962 and played one season up in Canada.
Our final obituary this week is that of Ben Wilson, a fullback in the NFL for 4 seasons. He has passed away at the age of 84. Wilson played college football at USC and was the team captain when during the Trojans' 1962 national championship season. He was selected in the 5th round of the 1962 NFL draft by the Los Angeles Rams, and he was also selected in the 28th round of the 1962 American Football League draft by the San Diego Chargers. He played for the Rams from 1963 to 1965 and was then traded to the Green Bay Packers, where he finished his playing career in 1967, winning Super Bowl II with the team. So I think he got the better end of that trade and wound up with a Super Bowl ring because of it. This is usually the point where we talk about this week's history lesson, which are now exclusively on our YouTube channel. But we have no history lesson this week because we spent the whole weekend in Pittsburgh, and we're going to be talking about that right now.
And a lot of our content this week, we're having a few things we'll talk about in a bit.
We've got so many things going on.
Yeah.
We didn't have time to do a history lesson this week. But I think what we're going to be putting out here in the next day or so is going to be quite entertaining to everybody. So we went to Pittsburgh for the 2023 Pro Football Researchers Association Conference. We're both PFRA members. Adam is a new member this year.
First year.
I've been a member since 2011. This was my 6th conference. In your second, I took you to one in 2012.
I was kind of an observer at that point.
NFL Films. Man,
what a great
that was
a great
an
one.
awesome experience. But anyway, we were there last week from Thursday through Sunday. The hotel where we stayed is a former Federal Reserve Bank in Pittsburgh.
Oh, well, that was cool.
And our meeting was held in the main bank vault in the basement.
Oh, yeah. When you hear bank vault, yes, it was legit a former bank vault. They still have the big old doors.
Yes.
Got a lot of video of that. So, like I said, we're going to put a video together in the next few days. So be on the lookout for that to kind of relive our experience there. But yeah, those bank vault doors were huge. We got our pictures taken with them.
Yep.
They kind of set the mood kind of getting down there. It really added to that ambiance of that whole building, which was so cool. That whole downtown area, cool architecture and everything down there.
I had never been to Pittsburgh before.
Me either.
No, you haven't. So this was the first time I'd spent any time in Pittsburgh itself. But it was pretty cool. Saturday night, we had, they brought in dinner for everybody, and it was in the vault next door, which was the former coin vault.
Yeah.
So I guess you had your big gold and cash in the big one, and then coins were in a smaller vault next door. So that had not as impressive a big vault door, but still massive. I mean, 3-4 feet thick? Oh, my gosh.
3-4 feet. I'd say maybe 2 or 3 feet thick, but it was
whatever.
still,
But yeah, just
really, like 4 feet, you're
really
pushing
cool. But during the whole trip, we had several side trips that we went on. The first day, we got up early Thursday morning and we drove 5 hours to get there.
5-hour drive for us.
Yeah, got up at 6 a.m. The sun was barely up, and we got over there and got there just in time for our first side trip. We met everybody in the hotel, and not everybody went, but those that wanted to do so, we met in the lobby, and we walked a couple blocks away to the local sports history museum.
Well, it's a full Western Pennsylvania history museum, but they have within that museum a special sports history section, which is where we spent a couple hours.
Yeah.
And while that museum is so big, you could literally spend all day there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if we ever go back to Pittsburgh for any reason, to check out the rest of that museum would probably be worth more. We didn't have to pay anything; everything was already set up. To check out the museum.
Well, we paid a little extra to go on this trip.
Okay, well, a little extra, but still, like, whatever the price of admission is, you're gonna get your money's worth with this whole experience there.
Well, we didn't really see the local history, the Western.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we didn't
history.
even do that.
We went right to the sports history side, and that was massive.
And that's what I was saying. Yeah, we spent the 2 hours there. we could have easily spent all day. You could probably easily spend a whole day at that place, and that's why I was saying money worth, well worth it to check out this whole building. It's so cool.
Yep. So we did that, and while we were walking to that event, we passed by a comic book store.
Oh yeah, clocked it right away.
And so you're like, okay, we're swinging by there on our way back, and we go in there and we're looking around, and it's pretty cool, And then you walked away and you were looking at some stuff, and the guy behind the counter came up to me and said, we've got 4 stories here. I said, huh? What? He goes, yeah. You can go down to the basement, and that's got some more comics, and then the 2 floors above this have a lot of music CDs, cassette tapes, and that sort of thing. And then the other one had vinyl records. So I mean, they had everything. We went to every 4, and our jaws were just hanging down. There was so much cool stuff.
So much cool stuff. A lot of Blu-ray. Me and my physical media collection. I know physical media is dying, but I wish I had a checklist of what I already had, because I was like looking at some of that stuff like, oh my God, I don't even know where I'd begin right now.
Do I have this one? I think I have.
Do I have this one? Yeah, that was my big problem. So that's why I didn't buy anything from it. And then the one other thing I would have bought didn't have a sticker on it, which made me go, there's no sticker on it. It's probably way too much.
Yeah, and I asked him when we left, because we didn't buy anything, but boy, there was a lot of stuff we wanted.
So much cool stuff.
And I asked him if they had a website, and he said, "Oh yeah," and he wrote it down for us. And
what's that website?
I don't know, but we'll be checking that out. He said, some of the more high end stuff is on their website, or
they
eBay
have
or something.
an eBay page. So
yeah. So that was pretty cool. And then the next day, the side trip was a trip to Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Now, Latrobe supposedly is, not supposedly, the very first all-pro football team is from Latrobe. Every player on the team was paid. And then originally, that's where John Brawlier was from. And for many years, he was considered the first pro football player, because he took $10 to play in a game back in the 1890s or something. And so he was really considered the first pro football player until they found documentation about Pudge Heffelfinger, who took money, I think, 3 years before him. So that was kind of interesting that he was there. And but the town is known for more than just those 2 things. It's supposedly the location of where the first banana split was ever made, and they have a banana split festival there every year. Arnold Palmer, the great golfer, came from that town, and Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. He, I guess, supposedly grew up in a house just a block away from where the museum is right now, and so they had an exhibit for him. They had an exhibit for Arnold Palmer. There was so much there, and the lady that gave us a lecture there, it was the president of the local historical society, Mary Lou Townsend. She gave us a great presentation.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
On the whole history of the town and everything.
Theme of the weekend was great presentations.
Yeah, she was awesome, and we really appreciated that. But the whole weekend was built around, for me anyway, reconnecting with a lot of friends that I hadn't seen in a couple of years at this convention, and making new friends too. I mean, I met some guys that I'd never seen before, and we exchanged some numbers and whatever, and met a really nice guy, John Horn from Winnipeg.
Yeah, John was cool. John rode with us to
Latrobe. Yep,
he was pretty chill.
Yep.
I dug, being around him.
We talked a lot of CFL with him.
CFL.
That was awesome.
Hopefully, he takes us up on if we ever get to Winnipeg. Go see a game. Hopefully, he takes us up on that. But then I met I'm the new kid on the block there. But I mean, everybody seemed to know me. I had a few people come up and say they like to listen to the podcast. So shout out to you fellas. And Clay was one of them.
Yep.
Clay, who's the webmaster for PFRA. He came up to me, in that cool southern voice he got. And I don't want to do a bad impression of you, Clay, but I much appreciate you coming up to me, being real nice and saying how much you like listening. So that meant a lot to me. A little weird, we just do this little old podcast, and even to have 1 or 2 people come up and say, "Hey, I enjoy listening to you," it's really surreal.
Yeah, Clay said, I've been listening to you guys for a year or more, and I'm like, oh, you're the one that's out there.
You're the one listener
we've been talking
appreciate
to
you, Clay,
for the last couple of years. But
he was great. His wife was sweet.
Yep.
A lot of these guys, a few of them brought their wives to this convention, which is cool.
Yep.
I met a few of them. And there's so many people I met. I can't remember every name at the top of my head. I wish I had a roster list to go down and thank everybody. But man, there was a lot of cool people doing a lot of cool things. You were the popular kid. I'm going to throw that out there right now. At one point, I sat down at a table to eat in that coin room. And I was like, "Oh, I'll be right back." I set my stuff down at that back table there because I found you, and I just gotta go grab something real quick. And I went and came back, and not only were you sitting there, you had the whole table pretty much filled up. And I was like, "Well, dang, aren't we the popular table all of a sudden?" And then after we all got done eating, you were the first one to get up and go do something else, and immediately everybody else got up, and I'm sitting there all by myself, like, "Oh my God, it's me." They don't like me. They love Randy. They just flock to him. He's the popular kid.
Hey, son, you stick with me and you'll be eating at the cool table a lot, okay? But yeah, what a great weekend. A lot of great speakers and presentations.
Yeah.
They also brought in a couple of former NFL players, offensive lineman John Kolb from the Steelers and quarterback Dan Dara from the Buffalo Bills. And the weekend was topped off with a tour of Acrisure Stadium and the Pittsburgh Steelers Museum. It's inside the stadium.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
I don't know where else we were going with that, but I finally got to I got to finally see the stadium where they filmed one of my favorite Batman movies. So that was cool.
Yeah, you were wearing your Gotham Rogues
Gotham
t-shirt.
City Rogues, yep.
So got a picture of you with that.
My only negative from that experience was that the tour guide didn't have more stories about them filming it there. Wow. The little bit he mentioned, I didn't want to correct him when he's like, "Oh, they only filmed at night." No, they did not, because they definitely did some crowd stuff there during the day. I just wish that they had a little bit more, but whatever.
Yeah, but in the Hall of Fame, they had a booth where you could go and
oh, that's right, we did do that.
Make the call, and we did that with the Immaculate Reception. There were 5 different plays you could pick. We picked the Immaculate
Reception. It was a 57-second clip.
It's a real quick thing, but we just may be posting that in the next few days.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see about that, but that was kind of a different experience. And please stick around if you're still with us, if you haven't bailed already. At the end of the show, because we're going to be playing an interview that I did on Saturday night after the convention was basically over with PFRA President George Bozeka. We talked to him about the history of the PFRA, the history book projects that the PFRA has been involved in the last few years, how you can become a member of the PFRA if you love football as much as we do, and a bunch of other things. So a video version of this interview is going to be posted on YouTube, and Adam's working on a separate video about the entire weekend. So look for those in the next few days.
A lot of content around this event this weekend.
Yeah, so many. I mean, did you count how many videos you took? You know, you take a lot of these, you call them B-roll things.
Yeah.
And they're like, 10 to 20, 30 seconds of just, scenery or panning around.
Yeah, that's how I construct all these videos half the time. And then you
write
the
narration.
Had to have been, got to be over 100 little clips.
Okay.
So I should have plenty of footage, but there'll always be something that you write down. I'm like, well, that's the one thing I don't have a clip for. Thanks a lot, Randy.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it. What was your favorite thing?
I was going to ask you that question.
I knew that's where you were going. I'm going to beat you to it because I know we're trying to round out the show today. What was your favorite thing about the whole weekend?
I think that trip to Latrobe was my favorite thing. I mean, yes, like I said, great talks, people who had written books or some of the former players. But I think that side trip to Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and it was like an hour away, was so cool.
45 minutes with decent traffic, decent Pittsburgh traffic. Then it was like an hour and a half to get back from there because Steelers training camp was happening at the same time, right along that highway.
Yeah, right in Latrobe, I think, is where they were practicing. So
it wasn't in Latrobe. I feel like it was because we passed the practice facility.
It was very very close to Latrobe.
It's like in between, maybe. I don't know the exact distance, but
no, that was a cool trip. Like I said, the Mary Lou Townsend was such a nice host. She was so happy to see us there, and she really did her best to explain everything, answered all of our questions about Latrobe and all the things that it's known for. Not just football, but she did talk a lot about the football history, and that was pretty cool. That she was really up on all that stuff. That spoke to all of us. Okay, let's see.
What was my favorite thing you asked? Oh, I'm glad you did. Like I said, we had a lot of great speakers. I think that was my favorite part, was the speakers. Between having 2 members of the Pittsburgh Passion women's football team there, which I don't think you mentioned.
No, I didn't mention them here, but they'll be in the video.
They'll be in the video, but they were great.
Yes.
You said like Mary Lou was great.
Yep.
like I said, I don't think there was a bad speaker per se. Everybody's subjects were interesting. Everybody's got a different speech style.
A different
so
style.
I'm not going to say like some were better than others. They were just different styles.
They're just different.
Different styles. But the one that stuck out to me probably the most is, and I say this only because it made me go buy her book, was, and you got the book sitting right here.
Yeah.
It's a great looking book. It's Moving the Chains by Erin Grayson Sapp. She was just absolutely one of the nicest people I met at that whole shindig. And it's a story about the civil rights protest that saved the Saints and transformed New Orleans. That's like the little subtitle of her book. But it's like talking about the racial incidents between the Sugar Bowl.
But it was also the 1965 AFL
I
All-Star
was gonna
game.
Say, but she made sure to say that the portion of the book is all about this stuff with the Sugar Bowl.
Right.
Then
it's a lot more than just that.
Then it evolves into the incident with the AFL Championship or AFL All-Star game that we have talked about on here before in one of your history lessons, and some other stuff that I just didn't put two and two together about the city of New Orleans around this time when they were about to get the New Orleans Saints. There's so much there, and as I'm listening, I was thinking, boy, this is fascinating. Like, I already knew a nugget, and I'm getting all this extra stuff around it. And immediately I said, I probably need to get this book. Nothing against any of the other speakers. I mean, I would definitely like to get everybody's books, but this is the one that made me go, if I'm going to buy one book this weekend, this is the book I'm getting, and it's what I did get. She was gracious enough to sign it. I felt bad that I asked her to sign it while she was trying to eat. But at the PFRA conference, I mean, it is hard to get a word in with a lot of these people there because everybody wants to talk to everybody, which is great. But at the same time, it does make you feel kind of like a jerk going up and being like, will you please sign my book? And she's sitting there trying to eat a sandwich. I feel really bad. I just didn't know when else to jump in. But she was just absolutely a sweet, sweet lady. And I hope to see her at another conference.
Yeah. I bought her book too. So we came home with 2 copies of her book.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Upcoming events calendar. This Thursday, that's 2 days, 2 days from now, August 3rd, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, between the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets. Football season is back in 2 days. It's going to be wild. Saturday, August 5th, 2 days later, the Pro Football Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremonies will take place in Fawcett Stadium, where the game is going to be played. And also on the 5th, the Indoor Football League National Championship game is going to be played, and that's going to be on CBS Sports. Oh, let's see. Is that the one that's in Las Vegas?
Yep, the Las Vegas. Yep.
Okay, that's in Las Vegas. Tuesday, the 8th, Hard Knocks premieres.
Yep, they had a great trailer today that made me go, shoot, I can't believe I'm excited to watch this thing about the Jets.
Hard Knocks with the Jets premieres on the 8th. Tuesday, the 15th, it's our 6th anniversary show.
Oh my God, that's 2 weeks away.
Yeah, I still gotta get those sound bites pulled.
You got time.
I know, but I just, like I said, I need you to remind me how to do that.
I need you to remind me to remind you to show you that.
Yeah. Let's see. Saturday, August 26th, the FBS College Football Week 0, Navy versus Notre Dame in Dublin, Ireland, along with 6 other games that day. And Thursday, September 7th, the NFL regular season begins with our beloved Detroit Lions traveling to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. That's going to be awesome.
It's going to be here before we know it, which also means our weekly pick segment will be coming back earlier that week. So we'll have to be prepping for that. I'm already getting my friend Mike, part of my fantasy football league, already saying, can't wait to beat you guys in the weekly picks this year.
You got fantasy football again. All right. Anything else before we wrap this one up?
We should be good. There's no real breaking NFL news as of right now. Training camps are still underway, but it should be good.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
All right, I am Adam, and I'm supposed to read this next section. I was totally
Come on, we're so close.
unprepared.
We're so
We are
close.
so close. You can like the World of Football on Facebook at TWF Kalamazoo. You can also follow us on X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. The address is at TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher till August 29th. Tune in, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music, so you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. To hear us wherever you have your Alexa device in your home, on the go, have at it. You can also find full audio versions of this show on YouTube. That's right. You just search the YouTube tab for the World of Football Kalamazoo, or use the handle youtube.com/@theworldoffootball to find us. So please spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, give us a comment. Let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation.
And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us sitting here in this room.
Except for maybe the person you're about to interview.
Well, that could be. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job. Yeah, right.
Good luck. I mean, we need to. This was, man, we started off real rough today.
I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm at a loss of words.
Oh, good. And we'll see you next week. But now, stick around for a few minutes, because now we have our interview with PFRA President George Bozeka that was recorded last Saturday night as the main part of the PFRA conference was finally over, and he could actually take a breath for a few moments, because he did a great job of putting that whole weekend together. He's been doing it for many years, and he outdoes himself every year. Yep. But here's our interview with PFRA President George Bozeka.
See you next week, everyone.
I'm here at the PFRA convention with George Bozeka, the current president of the Pro Football Researchers Association. George, thanks for talking to us today.
Thanks for having me.
So you're the current president. How long have you been president of the PFRA?
Going on about a year and a half now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, but you had other roles.
Yeah, I was assistant executive director for a number of years before that.
Okay.
So I've been on the board for a number of years, and just was elected president, like I said, about a year and a half ago.
Okay. How many years total have you been a member of the PFRA?
I've been a member nearly 14 years now. So
okay.
Started around 2009.
Okay. How many conventions have you put together for the PFRA? What is this? 15, 20?
No, it's not that many. Let's see. I put together Cleveland, and I also put together Green Bay, Buffalo, Canton, and the current convention.
Okay. How many members are there currently in the Pro Football Researchers Association?
I believe we currently have 391 members, but if you also include members that we have outside the country, plus our comp members, we're nearly 5,000 or 500 members.
Okay. The PFRA also produces a magazine called The Coffin Corner.
Correct. It's a 6 times a year, every 2 months, and it's basically articles that are mostly submitted and written by our members.
Okay.
And they cover a wide gamut of pro football history. So it's if you love, I always tell people, if you love pro football and love the history of pro football, the Coffin Corner magazine's for you.
Okay.
And it's all part of your membership.
Now, when was the PFRA founded, and by who?
It was founded in 1979, late 70s, at the Pro Football Hall of Fame by a group of, I believe it was 6 that were the initial sort of founders at the Hall of Fame. And it was dedicated basically to researching and writing about the history of pro football, and then also disseminating that research so that we could maintain an accurate record of the history of the game. Okay. And that's basically been our mission since.
Okay. What does the future of the PFRA look like?
We are really, as a board, one of the things that we've really talked about a lot recently is how to grow our membership and grow our visibility. We're a much smaller organization than our baseball counterpart, Sabre, but they have a much larger budget than we do. They have paid staff, which we don't. All of our staff, and I should say staff, it's our board, are all volunteer. So it's a little bit different, organization. So I think the one thing that we've been working on and talking about recently is, growing our membership. And some of the ideas that we have are through, opening up chapters around the country, as Sabre has done. We have a couple of successful chapters that have been started, and a couple that are in their infancy. One in Western New York that's been going for a number of years and been successful. So, we see that what they're doing there as sort of a model of what we like to do all across the country.
Now, you and your son, John, recently started the official
Yes.
PFRA podcast. How's that going?
It's going very, very well. We launched it in December. It's one of those things where podcasts is the modern technology, and it's obviously a modern way to disseminate that that history. And we feel that that's a good oral history because we've tried to interview authors, we've tried to interview a number of former players, and also former coaches. So we feel that it's a good record to get them to talk about their experiences, the whole gamut, not only their experiences with football, but we like to get into things after football too, and how they got to where they are. Sometimes the after football stories are almost as interesting as the football stories. So we get into that because it shows the whole person. And I think that's something that people are interested in.
So who are some of the people that you've interviewed so far?
Just recently, our two most recent podcasts were with Jeff Nixon, who was a defensive back with the Bills in the late 70s and early 80s. Also, we interviewed a lineman, Ed White, who was a lineman with both the Vikings and then also the Chargers. The Vikings during the Bud Grant sort of Super Bowl years, and then the Chargers during the Air Coryell years. Some of the ones that we've interviewed in the past is we've interviewed Mark Miller, who was a backup quarterback with the Browns during the Cardiac Kid years. We interviewed Coach Wayne Fonts, who coached the Detroit Lions. We've also interviewed Scott Maynard, Don Maynard's son, because obviously Don Maynard had passed, but Scott had some really great remembrances of his father and shared those with us. We've also had Blake Moore, who played for both the Packers and also the Bengals. So we've had a gamut of people. We've also interviewed on the non-players coach side. We've interviewed John Kendall, who's the sort of the, I don't know his exact title right now because I know it's sort of morphed, but he basically is sort of the chief curator at the Pro Football Hall of Fame Research Center. So we've had a good discussion with John and some of the things that they're doing recently at the Hall. And all of our podcast is part of the Sports History Network. So if people go to the Sports History Network and just go to the podcast, they can click on ours, and all of our podcasts are there for people to listen to.
Okay. Well, I must say the one with Wayne Fonts is my favorite so far.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
As a Lions fan.
We actually enjoyed that one too. Wayne is
quite a character.
Yes, he is. Everything that you hear about him is true. So yeah, it was. I enjoyed that one too.
Okay. Now, the PFRA has also been doing book projects over the last few years. This one on the 66 Packers, the 58 Baltimore Colts, the 51 Los Angeles Rams, and the one that's coming out next year, the 64 Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. I got I actually presented the original idea to the board. I got the germ of the idea because I was at my local Barnes & Noble, and I picked up a book that Sabre had put together. They had sort of a great team series, and they did a book on the 1947 Brooklyn Dodgers, Jackie Robinson, and basically that whole story, and sort of was the germ of the idea. I actually contacted some people with Sabre that had edited that book, and they sort of told me how the projects worked for them, and they had done a number of them, and they've done a number since. So we had the idea in conjunction with our 2016 convention in Green Bay. Well, let's do the 66 Packers because it was a anniversary year. So we did that. It was successful. We did it through McFarland Publishing. And then we, as you said, we followed that up with the 58 Colts, the famous sudden death game with the Giants. And then the 51 Rams, which were a team that we felt maybe was a little underappreciated during the 50s, whereas most people appreciated the fact that, the Browns were sort of the at the top of the mountaintop, also with the Lions. But I think a lot of people didn't remember that, that Rams team was a great team, a great offensive team, especially. And then we are currently working on and editing the 64 Bills, which will come out next year. And we've already chosen our next subject. It's going to be the 76 Raiders.
Now, what's unique about these books is that it's not you writing the book.
No.
You're doing a lot of the editing.
Yes.
But every player on the team is profiled.
Yes.
Every coach, The schedule is gone over, game reports for each one, but it's PFRA members who are writing the chapters on all these things.
Yeah. Every book basically documents the whole season. And as you said, we do a player profile on each player, a coach profile on the coaches, ownership, the stadium that they played in. We do game summaries with full statistics. We do statistics for each game. We even do the media. We pick key members of the media and we profile them. And, if we feel that there's a topic of interest in regard to the team, we'll do a chapter on that. For example, with the Rams, because they were first team to have a logo on their helmet, we did a chapter about the logo. We also try to do, in the most recent books, we try to do a chapter on the city itself and sort of look at it from sort of a cultural standpoint and to show, how the team fits in with that, culturally and what was going on in the city at that time, whether it's Baltimore or Los Angeles. We didn't do it with Green Bay because we hadn't come up with the idea. We've developed it, but we've done that with everyone. And we have a chapter in the Buffalo book that's going to be out. And so we've done that since then too. So as you said, it's a complete thing. And it's written by members. We usually put out a call for writers.
Volunteers.
And then based on how many people volunteer, I then assign all the chapters and then people send in drafts. We do editing and then we get a final draft. And then I put the whole manuscript together and do a final edit and then submit it to our publisher.
And each book is what, almost a 2-year project between the
Yes,
writing,
it
the
is.
editing,
It is. Yeah.
until the
Yeah.
physical book comes out?
Yes, yeah, it's about a 2-year project. I like to see it be 3, and we try that sometimes, but they'll averaged about 2 years.
I've been fortunate enough to contribute
you
a couple of 1 or 2 for every, and I learned so much because I was assigned players I'd never heard of. And it was fascinating to go and research these guys, look through old newspaper clippings or whatever I could find, and these people came to life for me.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's fascinating about this whole series is that it's just a bunch of researchers doing the research and writing the chapters, and then you putting it all together and making a fine product. They've all been really good books.
Well, thank you. I think one of the things too I enjoy about it is sort of determining what the theme of the team is. With the Packers, I sort of felt that it was going to be about Lombardi, and it was. I know somebody said they were surprised I started the book with a chapter on Lombardi, but he was the Packers, so you had to start. He was the foundation of the team, and it's sort of interesting to see the personalities of each team. And there's some things that are sort of the same about every championship team. They all have certain qualities, but then there's also differences. But it's always interesting to see what the personality, not of the players, but what was the personality of the team itself. And I think that's really fascinating because it comes out with that research and you find out, a lot of that. And like you say, we do every player, even, for the Colts, it wasn't just Unitas and Barry and Marchetti. It was the most obscure players. We do everybody. So because we feel every player is important.
How can somebody join the PFRA?
They can join through our membership page. We have if you look at our homepage, there's a spot on there where you can click to join. It's $35 for United States members, $40 for Canada, and I believe $45 for international members. And we do have a number of international members, which we're really happy about. We're actually can call ourselves a worldwide organization.
And so we're going to put all that information in our
yeah, that would be great.
In the notes on this video.
Yeah.
But it's profootballresearchers.org.
Yeah, profootballresearchers.org. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. George, thanks for talking to us today. It's been another great convention. Can't wait for 2 years from now when we have another one. But thanks for talking to us and for shedding some light on what the Pro Football Researchers Association is all about. And hopefully we'll get some new members here pretty soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Randy.